For decades, the Golden State Killer remained a ghost, a phantom that slipped through the fingers of countless detectives evading justice with chilling ease. But technology was changing. And buried deep inside a tiny fragment of DNA, lay the key to unlocking one of the greatest mysteries in American criminal history. Time code 0000140000001700. Visual, screen fades to black, title Crimson Files, DNA, AI and the Fall of a Monster on screen text. Title of the documentary, Super Cold Cases Hot Leads on Screen Text, subtitle of the documentary. By the early 2000s, forensic DNA testing had advanced rapidly. Cold case units across the United States were reopening files, hoping to match old evidence with new databases like CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System. In California, detectives working the Golden State Killer cases ran the killer's DNA profile through CODIS. They hoped a relative, even a distant one, might have entered their information into the system after a minor arrest. But the results were devastating. There was no match. The Golden State Killer had never been arrested for a felony. He remained invisible, hidden in plain sight. By 2018, a new method of forensic investigation was gaining attention: genetic genealogy, using public DNA databases designed for finding family history to solve crimes. Millions of Americans were sending their DNA to companies to learn about their heritage. Some of these users uploaded their raw genetic data to public databases like GEDmatch, opening a door investigators had never been able to walk through before. In early 2018, a small determined team of investigators, led by Detective Paul Holes and a few forensic experts, uploaded the Golden State Killer's DNA profile to GEDmatch. The results were astonishing. They found distant relatives, third and fourth cousins, tiny threads in an enormous web. But it was enough to start mapping a family tree that would eventually lead them straight to the killer. The genealogy work was painstaking. Detectives and genealogists spent months constructing massive family trees, combing through birth certificates, census records, marriage licenses, and obituaries. They narrowed it down. The suspect had to be a white male, born between 1940 and 1960, lived in California during the crime sprees. Slowly the list shrank from thousands of names, to hundreds, to just a handful. Among the final names, one stood out: Joseph James DeAngelo. Joseph DeAngelo was a former police officer. He had served in Exeter, a small town chillingly close to Visalia, the site of the Visalia ransacker crimes. He had been fired in 1979 for shoplifting a hammer and dog repellent, items disturbingly similar to tools used by the East Area rapist during his attacks. Neighbors described DeAngelo as odd, but not threatening, an old man prone to sudden outbursts of rage who lived alone, mostly ignored by those around him. The monster had been hiding in plain sight for decades. Investigators needed solid proof before making an arrest. They began surveilling DeAngelo, quietly tailing him around Sacramento. One day they retrieved a discarded object, a tissue from his trash can. Carefully they ran DNA tests on it. The results came back. It was a perfect match to the Golden State Killer's DNA. After more than 40 years of terror, the hunt was over. On April 24, 2018, Joseph James DeAngelo was arrested outside his suburban home. Neighbors watched in shock as the frail-looking 72-year-old was led away in handcuffs. At first, D'Angelo appeared confused, weak, but when alone in his cell, investigators later revealed he began muttering to himself, talking to an inner voice, admitting to crimes under his breath. The Golden State Killer was no longer a ghost. He was a man, broken, trapped, exposed. Over the next 2 years, D'Angelo faced a mountain of charges. 13 counts of murder, 13 counts of kidnapping for rape, dozens of related crimes. In August 2020, rather than face the death penalty, D'Angelo pled guilty to avoid trial. He offered weak apologies during sentencing, speaking so softly, many victims' families couldn't even hear him.
Breaking news.
He was sentenced to multiple consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, destined to die behind prison walls, alone, powerless, forgotten.